There are certain stories and passages that expose what an incredibly different time it was to live in ancient times. Step into the book of Judges. It is nothing short of a horror story. Our character today is a young concubine whose death would be the catalyst to a war that saw the slaughter of over 65,000 men, women, and children. Yet it would be her death in this war that would pave the way for the tribes to unite and make way for the great kings of Israel. The time of Judges was marked by violence and conflict for several reasons. This was roughly a 300-year period, following the conquest of Canaan and before the establishment of the monarchy. It was a time when men lived by one rule. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes. This time was plagued by a lack of centralized political authority. Not only was there turmoil and fighting within the tribes, but the Israelites repeatedly turned away from God and began to worship other gods, which in turn led to them being punished by God through various means, including military defeat and oppression by their enemies. Knowing their weakness during this time, neighboring nations, such as the Philistines, would often invade Israel and engage in violent conflicts. The book of Judges describes a cycle of sin, judgment, repentance, and deliverance. However, does it all end with a woman who is a concubine? She is known only as the Levites' concubine in Judges 19 verses 1 to 30. To start with, this young woman does not even have a name, nor does she speak. As a concubine, she would be a second lover, not worthy of wife status. Also interesting is that he has no name other than Levite. The couple lived in a remote area in the hill country of Ephraim. But all was not happy in this Levite household. Something must have happened. Judges 19 verse 2. But she was unfaithful to him. She left him and went back to her parents' home in Bethlehem, Judah, after she had been there 4 months. It is not clear what led to her infidelity, but we can make many assumptions that she may have felt trapped or unhappy in her position as a concubine. Maybe he was abusive and running was her only way to survive. We will never know, for her life was a very short one. She made it all the way back to Bethlehem. Now Ephraim was not a main town. It was located in the wild, uncultivated hill country, and it was roughly 20 miles to Bethlehem. Just guessing via Google Maps, it would have been potentially over a 5-hour walk non-stop for her to return to her father's house. If she stole a donkey, it might have been quicker, but a female traveling alone in those times would have been extremely dangerous. But she was willing to do just that. She was also willing to face the condemnation of her family by returning home, also willing to face the consequences of the man who basically owned her. She arrived at her father's house in Bethlehem. He did not turn her away or send her back to the Levite. In fact, this father keeps her. It is actually 4 months before the Levite arrives to take her back. It was not normal in those times for a father to keep a returning daughter. There must have been something wrong. Was this simply a dad protecting his child from a monster? Was he trying to do all he could to keep her safe? The Levite arrives with a couple of donkeys to collect his concubine. Now the dad does not let them leave straight away. He then spends a further 4 days and 4 nights with him, talking, drinking, eating, and passing time. Was this father trying to fix a broken relationship his daughter had with this man? On the 5th day, the Levite gets up ready to leave, but the father is still trying to have him stay 1 more night. Did this dad know that it would be the last time he ever saw his daughter? Judges 19 verse 8. And on the 5th day he arose early in the morning to depart. And the girl's father said, "Strengthen your heart and wait until the day declines." So they waited, both of them. And when the man and his concubine and his servant rose up to depart, his father-in-law, the girl's father, said to him, "Behold, now the day has waned toward evening. Please spend the night. Behold, the day draws to its close. Lodge here and let your heart be merry, and tomorrow you shall arise early in the morning for your journey, and go home." But the Levite could not be persuaded another night, and off they went. Not being able to make it all the way home, they stopped in the town of Gibeah, which was part of the Benjamin tribe. Entering town, they found it difficult to get lodgings. However, an elderly man on his way home saw them and took them in. The alternative of staying in the town square would have been deadly for all. Our first warning is right now. The following subject matter is sensitive. That night, while the Levite and his host were having drinks, it so happened that a gang of men got rowdy outside, banging on the door, yelling out repeatedly for the Levite to be sent out to them. All these men wanted to do was have sex with the Levite. As you can guess, there was no way he was going outside. Judges 19, verse 23 to 26. The owner of the house went outside and said to them, "No, my friends, don't be so vile. Since this man is my guest, don't do this outrageous thing. Look, here is my virgin daughter and his concubine. I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them and do to them whatever you wish. But as for this man, don't do such an outrageous thing." But the men would not listen to him. So the man took his concubine and sent her outside to them, and they raped her and abused her throughout the night, and at dawn they let her go. At daybreak the woman went back to the house where her master was staying, fell down at the door and lay there until daylight. Yes, you heard that part of the story correctly. The Levite threw out his concubine to a gang of men who wanted sex. The old man was even willing to sacrifice his virgin daughter for a stranger. An unknown Levite's honor was worth more than his very own daughter's. What a way to show how different times were, and emphasize just how important the man was in this era. The next morning, the Levite finds his concubine lying on the ground. Thinking she is asleep, he takes her body and throws her up on the donkey and heads for home. This woman has just endured a horrific, unspeakable night. She most likely died of internal injuries either on the ground in front of the house or on the donkey walking home. Now this is where the story really takes a dark turn, and it comes with another warning. Judges 19 verse 29 to 30. When he reached home, he took a knife and cut up his concubine, limb by limb, into 12 parts and sent them into all the areas of Israel. Everyone who saw it was saying to one another, "Such a thing has never been seen or done, not since the day the Israelites came up out of Egypt." Just imagine. We must do something. So speak up. He did not give her a dignified burial, even during ancient times. Being split apart was something that was not done in death. But was there a bigger purpose for her in death? By sending each piece to a different tribe of Israel, this led to an all-out outrage. A primal cry throughout the land of Israel was heard, as this type of act had never been done before. The tribes banded together and demanded the men who had committed this horrific crime be handed over and justice would be served. But as it seems the tribe of Benjamin had been behaving badly for a while, they flat out refused to hand over the men from the city of Gibeah. When they refused, the other tribes of Israel sought vengeance and went to war against the tribe of Benjamin. Thousands and thousands of men, women, and children died as a result of the crime. The tribe of Benjamin was nearly wiped out in the conflict, with only 600 men remaining. After a while, the other tribes began to feel for the remaining 600 men, and decided to let them marry women from other tribes. The new wives were from the towns of Jabesh Gilead and Shiloh, therefore allowing the tribe of Benjamin to continue. Now we know that there is so much meaning in every word used in the Bible. This story will have many depths to it, much more than we have shown today. Ultimately, this story was included in the book of Judges. It allows a glimpse into the violence and oppression faced by women in biblical times, particularly those in lower social positions like concubines. She is portrayed as a silent victim, a nameless woman whose death is used as a political tool to rally the tribes of Israel against the tribe of Benjamin. Her death ignited something. It paved the way for tribal cohesion. It would allow them to move away from living under the banner of everyone did what was right in their own eyes.